Okay, everybody, Eric, are we ready to go? You are waiting on anything? Eric?
Kelly,
Mr. Substitute City Administrator, are we waiting on anything? Okay. All right, thank you.
In progress.
Thank you very much. I call to order this July 23rd, 2025 meeting of the Public Safety Committee. Roll call, please.
Chairman Plufka,
Here.
Alderman Gould,
Here.
Alderwoman Sims. Here. Alderwoman Harder.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you very much. Item 2 on our agenda is the approval of that agenda. Have the committee members had a chance to look at the agenda, and would you make any changes?
I was going to suggest that since item, 8A and item 8C are very similar in their concerns and the discussion, and Dan is going to be presenting them both, perhaps we move item C to B and then electric bikes down to C. That way he can stay up and just talk about it. It's all has to do with Litzinger Road.
Okay. Do you think we need to actually formally, in that subset like that, change the agenda? No. We can just make an agreement that we're going to deal with those two at the same time when it
Okay.
comes up?
That'd be fine.
Okay, so with that in mind, anybody else have any changes or redactions? Hearing none, the agenda will stand as approved with that accommodation that we'll make when we get to new business. Our third item is citizen comments. If anybody, either here in the audience or online, has comments that they want to make with regard to a public safety issue concerning the city of Brentwood, you'll be recognized. Come up to the podium, please, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address. Anybody online?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to number 4, which is the report of the committee. And as chairman, I do not have a report. Alderwoman Sims?
No report.
Thank you. Alderman Gould?
No report.
Thank you. Alderwoman Harder?
No report.
Thank you very much. Under city administrator report, we do not have a city administrator report tonight. Okay. We'll move on to the departmental reports. Chief Spees, would you give the report for the police?
Good evening.
Evening.
I'd like to start with the typical crime report that we do for you and start with car crime. As you know, we did a car crime detail for several weeks, and just to give you a little update, as we wound down the detail and have discontinued it, from 6:30 to 7:06, which was 3 weeks ago now, we had 0 car break-ins during that time and 0 auto thefts. The following week, from 7/7 to 7/13, also 0 and 0. And on 7/14 to 7/21, we have 1 car broken into, 0 auto thefts. But on the 19th of July, which was last week, Corporal Mundorf was able to locate and chase 2 stolen Hyundais out of Brentwood Forest. And they did not have the opportunity to start breaking in cars yet, but Seth got a very good look at both cars as he was chasing them. Each car had at least 4 guys in it, maybe 5, all with masks on. So you can tell, you know the kind of damage they were getting ready to do. And by the way, that was at 5:40 in the morning when it was light. It was just getting light. So bad enough that we would have cars broken into, much worse that we would have a person come out and confront those kind of crews. Yeah. So luckily Seth was able to find these guys, and last seen at a very high rate of speed east on Highway 64. There were a couple cases over the course of since we've met last that I wanted to highlight. On June 30th, we were conducting our officer safety training near a station at Public Works and practicing a robbery case. At the same time, a holdup went out within 2 minutes of us. I thought that was kind of ironic.
Yeah.
Our detectives are working a case of somebody pulled up to the ATM at the UMB Bank. 2 guys were doing surveillance on the ATM. They see him pull up, take money out. They came up, put a gun in his face, took his $400, and then they fled. And we've got some good leads on the case. our flock cameras hit the car going out east on Eager Road. So the detectives are tracking down some information. Right now, we're waiting on some cell phone data to come back, but I think we got a pretty good chance of clearing that up. We had a kind of a unique case on the 6th of July. A purse was taken at the Whole Food lot. We haven't seen this one. Two people approached an older woman, and she was putting her groceries in her car and distracted her, asked her for directions, asked her for a couple other things. And as soon as she got distracted, they took her purse, and then they went right to Best Buy with her credit cards. We haven't really seen that here in Brentwood. That's kind of a unique twist on. Usually, it's taking a woman's purse out of the shopping cart, right out of the stores, is what we see, and that was a little different version of the same crime. We have been working and still are a case from July 7th. I think this case was mentioned at the board meeting. I can't say a whole lot about the case other than to tell you that there was a female who was knocked down from behind by a male subject. She was actually kicked. She went face first into the concrete. We're working this case diligently, including doing lineups and video surveillance that we've captured and things like that. We were working with the county prosecutor's office on the case. So as it unwinds, I kind of give you an update at the next public safety meeting on that. We also attended a meeting. There's a lot of anxiety at the Hanley Station regarding what happened. It was an ugly event. She's at the top of the parking garage sitting on her skateboard when this happened. So this guy's no relation to her. There's no, this was a stranger on stranger crime, so to speak. So we're still working the case. We have some leads on it and working with the prosecutor to try and clean that one up. We can't predict or say exactly why he did what he did, but it's pretty safe to say there was a reason why he did what he did, and whether or not he couldn't complete the act he was getting ready to do. We're pretty sure it was not a robbery event, and without knowing her, it would be clear that there was a reason why he did what he did, and so it's of high importance to us. I will just put it to you that way because of that. The mini bike thing is on the agenda. I noticed at the end. Do you want me to address that now, or would you rather me wait and come back up? Or
Let's take it at the end,
okay,
or at the not quite the end. It looks like.
so we have a job opening in the police department. We continue with trying to do our recruiting efforts. It's more and more difficult in law enforcement. It's very competitive. Honestly, the salaries have come up all around us, so it makes it even more challenging. So, but we continue to try and look for different ways to do recruiting. We're in the process of trying to copy our fire department and consider doing some version of a video. It may be helpful. We'll figure out the cost of it and then go from there. But one of the challenges we have are the academies. When you go to the academies, these people are usually hired before they even get into the door. So it used to be that we could recruit out of our academy classes, but that has become a thing of the past for the most part. So we keep working on it. We have one opening right now. We have a conditional offer to somebody right now, but that pretty much exhausts our bank of applicants if somebody else leaves. But I guess we'll address that as we go. We have a promotional process that's in place. Scott Worth retired last month. So we have an opening for the rank of corporal. We have two good candidates that we're interviewing and going to be testing and bring that to the board and on the selection after the city administrator approves it. That's really all I had. We're going to wait on the electric bikes. I'll come back up at the end. If anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Questions from the committee? Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Cottrell? Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you. I'll try and move through this swiftly. We, too, are in the midst of a hiring process. We did make a conditional offer to an individual, and he completed all of his pre-employment screening as of Friday, so we're just waiting on results to come back from all of that before we issue a starting date, but we're very close to hiring him. We were strategic in submitting an offer to him because he will have to go to the fire academy. We are running over, and not yet, but we project to run over in our overtime budget. So we are not sending him into the fire academy until January. That way we will be fully staffed at that point. It will provide some relief on our personnel. We also identified a second candidate who selectively applied at Brentwood. So we told him to hang on. We anticipate at least one more opening in the next 6 months or so, and the individual. So we believe we kind of have that lined up. Time will tell on that, but it really worked well. Once this hiring process is complete, we are in motion for a promotional process for lieutenant as well, for the one lieutenant who did resign. So we have 4 applicants that are pursuing the position of lieutenant. So we will conduct that process prior to our next public safety meeting in August. Many thanks to so many that did come to the groundbreaking ceremony for the fire training facility. It was a little warm, but it was very well attended. We were excited. I think even more importantly will be next summer when we have the ribbon cutting or hose uncoupling, whatever we figure out we can do. But yeah, we're very grateful for that. Last Thursday evening, and since, let me say that, we had as you know, a no-notice rain event with a lot of rain. And we did have 3 individuals that were trapped in the floodwaters inside the sports complex. Was extremely concerning to us because of their location. We didn't know how many people we had inside the sports complex on the initial call. And then we also had someone drive into the floodwaters on Russell around the same time. So we had a total of 4 individuals we had to remove from the waters. All were removed by personnel just wearing their swift water protection. So we did not launch any boats, and we were able to safely remove them from those floodwaters. The following day, 1 vehicle did have to be towed out of the sports complex. Monday morning, we did have notice for the rain that came on Monday. We had plenty of notice, and even with the help of Public Works putting out barricades, and individuals still chose to drive around those barricades into the floodwaters on Russell Avenue, but they walked out on their own accord. So it's totally different flood scenarios. One of our firefighter paramedics, Seth Carey, he has returned as of today from the state of Texas. I've only shared some reports from the FEMA team, not from Seth. I look forward to catching up with him tomorrow, hearing about his experiences, and we certainly thank him for his service to the state of Texas. We currently have 2 members on Missouri Task Force 1, and we do have some others interested, but they're not taking applications right now. So I want to highlight the East Central Dispatch Center. I know Alderwoman Harder attended the meeting that day, as well as a couple of others. Being blunt, I think it was not as advertised, is perhaps safe to say. The invitation was about sharing about what their services are, but their presentation that day were about gaps that exist with dispatching fire agencies. That's just what it boiled down to. And well, there was some finger pointing, but the importance piece is Regis, Motorola, and ECDC. There's much work to be done. And so I just want to start that conversation here at Public Safety. It is concerning. We're at nearly 3 years with this CAD. I just sent a letter this week to East Central requesting a formal proposal from Regis to integrate additional interoperability measures. I will share that in my weekly report. I didn't have it prepared for tonight. But we're still trying to work to overcome those challenges. And it's concerning. So I just wanted to share that here first. The last item on the fire codes, I just left this on here from last month because I know that conversation is still ongoing with Public Works Committee. Myself, the fire marshal, and Assistant Chief Bernie, we're working with the Planning Development Department. We're meeting with contractors. We're meeting with different vendors to address any concerns. We have meetings scheduled, I know, in the next 2 weeks. So again, just being open, letting you know that we are working with those in the community regarding the code upgrade that we're wishing to do. Any questions?
Questions from the committee? No, thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Dan?
Yeah, have a handful of updates for various projects here with Public Works. The Rosalie Avenue East to Swim Club. I did actually put the data collector up there at the same location as before, and then I placed in your packet the results. So 8654 Rosalie is where we ran the data again. There's a before and an after column. So the main takeaway would be is that the 85th percentile speed, the 50th percentile speed, the average speed, the maximum speed, all of those have decreased since we put the speed cushions up. And then if you look at the 5 mile per hour bins that I sorted it in the table, vehicles that are traveling at 30 plus miles per hour, before the cushions were up, you had like 13.2% of the total volume of vehicles. And then after the cushions were installed, when I ran the analysis in July, it's roughly 3.4%. So you had about a 10% drop. So that's a good thing. Just wanted to prove that something worthwhile happened by putting those in.
Right.
Over on High School, north of Litzinger, at that alley, we did put up the no parking signs, so that's done. That was already approved by the board. Strassner Drive, we did have an electrician provide us an exact copy of the lights that were already there. We're probably going to go with that only because the 5 solar ones don't match. You know, they could be their own little group, but putting in 5 solar would be more expensive than just 1 electric, and the other electrics aren't that old. But I'm still going to use the quote. What I'm going to use it for is to put those lights over here next to the library parking area, because those are AC powered, and to me, they're obsolete. They've got issues, and I thought, well, it'd be easy to put those here and then test them out, and then if they do work out well, then we'd put them elsewhere, possibly over at Strassner. Mary Avenue, there was a request to straighten a post, the slow children warning sign post. That was done per staff. High School Drive at Brentwood, we did purchase, and we have already installed, there's an LED flashing stop sign that's at that southeast corner of the intersection. The other one, I don't know why it does not work as well as the ones we were used to buying. We did take the old one and shifted it down by the gazebo on Brentwood, and I'll eventually replace that one with one like we just put up. And that's it.
Do you have any questions? Yeah.
I've got a question. So am I looking at the speed cushion data correct, that there's less than half the amount of vehicles that are going? Is that the same, during the same time period, or
No.
was it a shortened time period?
Yeah.
Okay.
The caveat there is when we ran it before we put the cushions in, it was about a 14-day period.
Okay.
Versus when we ran it a second time, it was like 9.
And then,
But the daily counts have gone down by about 100 or so cars, and I think probably because schools are not in session.
okay, yeah. So you don't think that it's just pushing it onto Eulalie? or
I don't
anything like
believe
that?
so. We can run it again later when
Yeah.
school's in, say like August, September. We can do it as many times as we want. And my goal or my hope would be that we see the same analysis
Yep.
vet out that it's reduced certain fraction, you know. I can't keep everyone from speeding, but it has reduced it significantly.
Right, and I know the concern with putting up speed humps everywhere is that some people might get wise to it and start using other
Cutting over.
roads, and then they, now we're just pushing the problem somewhere else, but that was one of my questions. The other question that I have is not on here, because I actually keep forgetting to bring it up, but along Manchester Road, there's several of the lights that MoDOT, I guess, had installed for us that are no longer working, and I don't know why that would be. And I noticed one of them looks like maybe it was hit, and it's
It was.
leaning over, and the glass is gone. The light still works, but I'm just worried about that falling at some point if it stays like that. Is that their responsibility to come fix all those, or is
No,
that
it's ours now, yeah.
Okay.
So we've contacted an electrician to get quotes on that work, because there's a cabinet that's damaged that's affecting some of the function of some of
Okay.
those lights. But the one that's leaning's over by the self-storage area,
Yeah.
and that one, I said, if we can't straighten it out, ourselves, we're actually renting a lift next week because we have to do the pedestrian warning diamonds.
Okay.
Those have come loose. We put them in the garage. We're gonna put them back on because they said they won't do it.
Okay.
I thought they'd do it if we paid them, but they said no, that they're ours now. So,
You break it, you buy it, I guess.
right.
All right, that's it.
Anybody have any- Thank you very much, Dan. And if you'll stay,
Yep.
because I think we're going to deal with, so we have no old business, but under 8A, we have street safety concerns. And that combined with Litzinger, Bremerton, those are the two.
Yep.
Could you speak to those two?
Yes.
And then we'll come back to electric bicycles after that.
Yeah, there were two different concerns that were in your packet. The first one was Brentwood Boulevard at Litzinger. The person was expressing that they would like to see a turn arrow added. If you're at that intersection and you get the green, it's just a solid, green circle. It does not have a dedicated turn. Nor does, if you go north of there, like Renwood and Strassner and Brentwood Boulevard. And it is marked, it does say, left turn, yield on green. The problem is that cars are trying to turn quickly through that intersection when they get the green, and sometimes the way that the crossing is signalized for the pedestrians, it's counting down while somebody's trying to turn there as well. We reached out to the county. The county has no immediate plans to replace those. I know they're expensive, but in the future, maybe they could add like another, turn to the lights. I don't think it's as easy as just amending what's there. It has to be a whole replacement, and then they have to work that, integrate it with the signals and the timing.
Because on the opposite side,
It's the same way if you leave, like you're by the library, you're looking, towards the Walgreens, and you wanted to make that left.
right,
There could be cars coming straight across, and if you hit them, I'm pretty sure you're at fault.
right. And that's, okay, yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, unfortunately,
that's what I was
there's
gonna
nothing
say.
we can do. It's all controlled by the county,
Okay,
county highway department.
I mean, I think it's important to stay on them about it, because especially because I don't believe they're at right angles. So Litzinger
slight
starts
angle, yeah.
starts to curve a little bit. So as a car's coming to try to beat the light to get onto Litzinger, if you got a pedestrian that's crossed in the turn lane in the middle island and then trying to get across, it is a bit dangerous right there. If people aren't watching, because at that point the pedestrian's looking this way and not, it's kind of hard to see somebody behind you.
Yeah, the one I've always
coming
thought was
across.
worse is left turn on Strassner going southbound Brentwood Boulevard, because on the O.B. Clark side,
Yeah, that one's
that's
tough
at a
too.
lower elevation, so cars can come over that crest. If it's a low enough car, you only have a few seconds to react.
Yeah, that's a tough one too, yeah. So I think those crosswalks that the county is involved with, we just need to continue to push them that we need their cooperation on some of them, or else, we'd hate to have something happen.
And then the second item was the intersection of Litzinger at Annalee. The person had asked about the stop sign placement, stop sign size, tree. There's several different things that they asked. This would be if you're going westbound Litzinger at Annalee.
at where?
It'd be westbound Litzinger at the intersection of Annalee, that first block
Annalee.
just west of Brentwood Boulevard.
It's a three-way stop.
It
right?
is.
So,
Yeah, everything's marked. I did measure the stop sign. It's a 24 by 24, each dimension's 24 inches. It's not small. It was allowed, for a 20-mile-per-hour zone. What we've been doing, buying here lately, for years actually, are 30 by 30s. It's as easy as you could swap out the 24 by 24 for a 30 by 30. It's no big deal. We've got them in stock. The tree issue is actually a private tree that kind of encroaches on the right-of-way. I walked backwards maybe 3 or 4 houses, and I can see the stop sign, but it's kind of cut off a little bit. And then as you're going west, then it becomes clearer. I would not move it closer to the road for fear of somebody hitting it. Plus, it's not optimal to put it there because there's already a sewer there. You'd be trying to cram it onto a sidewalk. It's fine where it is. It just may need to be increased. And then worst case, like we did over at Brentwood and High School, you could put in a flashing stop sign. We just did one of those. I mean, that's pretty simple. It uses the same post. There's a solar pack with it, so they work for days without sun.
Wouldn't just increasing the size from 24 to 30 accomplish at least some of the visibility?
It is, yeah, that's why I thought it's like, so if the tree's kind of growing a little bit over it, you'll see more of that edge as you're heading westbound. That's a
Without
simple
without
fix.
moving the
Without moving
center
the post,
pole.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you reached out to the owner with the tree? Maybe he'll be happy to trim a little bit.
I haven't, I just looked at it today, but I took some pictures. I didn't have time to put in the packet, but I can show it to you afterwards. It's just a little bit cut off, but if you're unfamiliar with the area, I could see how you could miss it if you're looking for addresses and suddenly you didn't see a stop sign, but now you do.
and I think the biggest concern is mostly when kids are walking to and from school. So I don't know about that a lighted sign is really necessary, because that's important at night. I'm sure it does maybe have increase some visibility during the day, but I would say attempting to trim the tree back a little bit to increase visibility if the owner was able to do that, and then a larger sign should take care of it. What about adding ladder striping for the crosswalks? And again, this goes into some of the discussion that we're going to have about Bremerton, but if there's some consistency along that whole stretch of Litzinger in how we treat intersections, that might be
Right.
a good
In
thing.
proximity to school.
Yeah.
They both have the same proximity.
So if it's,
Issue.
if Annalee High School and Bremerton all had ladder striping and consistent size signs,
Right.
Maybe that would help.
Yeah, you could, right now, like for the 9 years I've been here, they've been just the double bars, and that's that way around the whole school. I know we'll put stencils in, actually there's stencils already down there, just faded, but it does say the word school, whether you're at McGrath or Mark Twain or the high school. So those will be bright yellow. Those are, I think, 3-foot tall letters, but, to your point, we could, any of the 24s that are along that route, we can replace them with 30s. Usually we'll wait until they're faded or, obsolete, and then we just recycle the 24s back at the shop and put a 30 on there. But the stop sign, if you wanted it to flash, you could do that there. And if it's annoying to people, there actually is, you can turn it off, or you can put it on a dusk to dawn sensor where it only comes on at night.
So are you looking for guidance from this committee in terms of, this is not something that has to go to the full
No.
board?
I'm just
It's
going to do the
something you
simple
can make
solution, which
Okay.
was swap the sign out and asked about the tree trimming. And I believe that if it's
That's
in
a
right
good
away, we
idea.
can trim it.
Both.
I would say, yeah, the consistent size signs all along Litzinger and ladder striping for all crosswalks at intersections adjacent to the schools, I think and we can always, if the smaller signs, like you said, you can put them in storage, and if we need them somewhere else in the city that isn't,
Another residential street or
yeah, we could
Yeah.
use them there.
What I've done before is just put them on a barricade, like whenever the
That's
lights
a good
go
idea,
out
too.
or somebody
Sure.
strikes one, we'll put a sandbag on it. and-
It's not wasting a sign,
Yeah.
it's just repurposing it, so,
Yep.
that would be my guidance. Do you need a motion for that, or is that just
I don't
good?
think so.
Okay. Good. All right. And then with regard to Bremerton?
Okay. There we go. So there's a couple different questions or concerns with Litzinger at Bremerton. So there's photos in your packet that shows looking from each of the three ways, because it is a three-way stop there as well. I don't really see issues with Bremerton itself. It's not a high-volume road or anything. It's really just the Litzinger, and the Litzinger challenge is that part of it's controlled by Rock Hill, part of it's us. We've already made improvements on westbound Litzinger at Bremerton. There's an LED stop sign there, and that's a 30 by 30. That was put in maybe 2 years ago. The crosswalk, I know that we could change that to like a ladder style. So it's already got 2 bars and you're just adding those white rectangles in between, creating like rungs. That's pretty simple. We can do that ourselves and paint that. That's the only dedicated crosswalk there, because there's none in Rock Hill. They don't have sidewalks on both sides. And there's no curb cuts. Like ours actually has the truncated domes, for ADA. So I thought, well, we can improve that. The other things that they had asked about doing, like a sign mounted on the center line, I do not like those. That would get struck. I know it would. It would be difficult to plow snow. And typically, they also showed where like MoDOT marked up something, but that's a mid-block crossing. It's not a dedicated intersection like this is. Mid-block would be like YMCA to Memorial.
Honestly, Dan, I read your report, and I think your recommendation is exactly on, and I think that, the additional paint that you talk about and the style that you're talking about is a good thing to do, especially when you're dealing with, as you say, a portion of the corner is in another community, and you've only got sidewalks on the one side. Does anybody in the committee disagree with what Dan has in mind?
No, I think those would be definitely welcome improvements of that area.
agree.
Even little things do help in visibility of that those crosswalks. Do we already have crosswalk signs, like the diamond shape with the person walking, or those?
Yeah, we have those, and for that area, you would actually put the 5-sided, like the home run plate, because that's what you would use
Right.
at a school zone.
School zone. So that would, and are they up on?
There's
along
none there, but like I said, any like stop sign area, you don't typically put signs there, because if you stop, there's a crosswalk. You have a stop
You're
bar.
supposed to stop, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's redundant. That's why most engineers don't recommend it. But we do have it, on Strassner, McKnight. They pointed out like along Manchester, it's like, well, those are mid-block crossings.
Right.
Right, so they're
not-
not dedicated
Yeah,
stopping.
you don't
so-
see one at Brentwood and
right,
Manchester, like,
Understood.
you know.
Okay,
so.
Okay.
yep.
But yeah, I figure we always do it like typically in July and beginning of August, do all the painting around the schools, then we start doing the other intersections. So this can just be added into the rotation to modify it and create those rectangles and freshen up those marks.
And do we think that, timing-wise, do we think that painting and maybe even swapping out some of the signs can be done before August, before the August?
Yeah, it's
start,
mid-August, right?
Mid-August?
Yeah.
That would be ideal.
Yeah, I'll try to get the signs done this week, because whatever we need, we'll have to order, but we've got some in stock just for redundancy. There's probably at least half a dozen back there.
Okay. Great. Sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
So do you, okay, and then, do you want to, you want to talk about Pine Avenue?
Yeah, might
It's
as
on there
well, I
too. We might
guess.
as well. Okay, so the recommendation there is is the rectangle that you can see, that represents 150 feet from the intersection?
Correct. It basically the 150 runs from the intersection with Brentwood Boulevard all the way west to that driveway on the Pine Avenue side.
And it looks like the veterinary clinic had asked for a couple of dedicated spaces to the east within that 150.
Right, because you can fit, it depends on the length of the car and how they space them, because there's no, like what we did over in Brazos, marking them out 23 by 8.
Yeah.
You could probably fit 5 vehicles if you knew what you were doing parking along there. However, as you saw from the picture, it's difficult when you're heading east if someone's parked there, say 4 cars, because you're going around them to get into the right-hand turn lane if you're wanting to go south.
And
Yeah,
if
and there's a bend right there in the
yeah, and if
street.
there's people
There
that
is.
are in the left-hand turn lane.
And if someone else is
watch-
coming like southbound and then turning right to go westbound, then you're all ganged up in that area.
I would, Well,
You know, the challenge is, you know, they have so much business that they'd like to keep some. And then I said, well, if you can't keep them east, could you add some to the west? I was like, I don't know about that. I don't think so, but
That'll encroach on
it would be in
residential.
public right away, but have we ever, I don't have recollection of ever doing this, like dedicating something that's for parking for a business on a
way,
public street.
yeah.
It's,
especially in front
Typically-
of somebody's house.
right, it would be, yeah, to the west of that driveway would be encroaching on one of those homes. And then from Public Works, they supported doing the 150 feet because it's already in the code, so I don't need to bring anything to the board. I just need to call in locates and put the signs in. But they thought that on the north side that it should be residents only. I don't know that you'd want to do both. Because if you do residents only, then they have to get stickers, and then technically any of their visitors that park in the street could be ticketed.
And what's the business of, is it like a,
It's the
As an
veterinary
office-
emergency group.
no, I know, but a Cross Pine is like a travel agency?
Yeah,
or
it's the
something?
Milton Building.
There's a
yeah.
law firm.
Parking for
Yeah.
OBs.
For OB's
like-
parking, overflow, yeah.
But it's a office building.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah, it's
it
across the
full?
street from my neighborhood,
Like, what's
so-
the possibility of them having a,
They've approached them and they
parking
can't get
agreement?
an agreement
No.
with them. They had one with the library. They've reached out to Arch Energy, you know, who owns that area over by the Mobile on the Run. Couldn't reach an agreement with them.
Can't get the Milton Building to agree?
Yeah, I spoke with the veterinary clinic folks. You know, they're looking forward to once the library's done, then they'll work on an agreement with them and then employees will park there again. But right now, it's all fenced off during the
Yeah.
construction. So the challenge is, you know, if you've got 8 or so employees each shift, possibly more depending on the procedures, some of them park on the lot, others park in the neighborhood.
seems like should have been caught in the P and Z process with this building that,
Well, in fact, I went back and looked at the traffic plan, and they indicated that the nature of the business would more than support. There would be no problem with the number of spaces that are on
Clearly
their
not.
lot, and it's never been adequate. I don't think since it's been opened, it's been adequate.
yeah.
But, you know,
That's always full.
right, to overflowing.
Yeah, so I guess for direction, do you want us to go ahead and swap those signs out? Because right now, there's only the no parking here to corner, and that's only like 50 feet away from the intersection.
Yeah, no, I would, well, what does the committee want to do? I would be in favor of extending it to the 150, especially since that's consistent with the ordinance, and all you have to do is locate signs and put them in. I'm not inclined to give them the 2 spaces they're talking about on the south side, but I'm also not really inclined to want to further restrict the north side to residents only, because that becomes a headache of stamps and, you know, stuff you got to put in your window and things like that. And then
Enforcement.
it's an enforcement issue, right? I mean, so,
And once the library opens up. I
right,
think
this is
that'll change,
temporary
but that's
anyway.
in a
somewhat
year
temporary.
from now, but maybe if you talk to Milton's and then say, hey, next, in the year,
Yeah, I don't know either.
Well, I would concur with that, and where they figure out how to park and agreements, that's not on the city as far as I'm concerned. That's their problem to figure out. I think they need to
I'm
comply
curious as
with,
to why they haven't been responsive.
yeah, I think they need to comply with the ordinances that we have, and since it's already on there, we should,
Absolutely, yeah. You need any formal?
No, that's good enough for me. We'll call in the locates, we'll
Okay.
put up the signs. The north side already complies, so once this is done, they'll both conform to that Table 3A in the municipal code.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
it.
Dan.
Thanks.
Chief, I'm sorry you got bumped.
Didn't see it before I walked in. The city administrator asked me to run something by you in my report. Would it be okay if I go backwards a little bit and
Yeah,
cover that?
yeah.
So we've been working, as you know, we purchased Walther firearms for the police department through asset forfeiture. It is very typical in that scenario that the police department, the officers are allowed to buy back the old weapons So we've been working on that, trying to get this done with the distributor. And the 6-hour weapons that we had, a lot of the officers wanted to buy them, so we're in the process of doing that. Nick Lang has arranged for it to be done. The guns are going to be about $475 each. The officers were given a choice, what do they want to purchase it or not. The weapons that are not being purchased, and there are, I think, about 6 or 7 of them, are being returned to the distributor. What we asked Michelle Depew to consider and offer to the officers was to do a payroll deduction process as opposed to buying the guns outright. She was fine with that, set it up for us. Bola asked that we take it past Jim Hetledge, which we did, and Jim sent the message today. He's fine with the process. He didn't see any issues with it. Bola just asked that I share that with you guys, and if anybody had any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer it.
Questions? Thank you for sharing that. And then electric bicycles?
So, it's been particular since the summer started, in particular, Alderwoman Nancy Parker Tice has been challenged with people coming to her about electric bikes. And these are, I think, the ones that are most, don't think of the issue is like the bigger, large electric bikes so much as the small electric bikes being ridden by kids. We did a little informal poll of the officers. We have not seen one motorized mini bike on the streets.
Like gas powered?
Correct. So they're all electric bikes. Unfortunately, they go pretty fast, right? So you're dealing with young kids who are running around our streets, potentially going through stop signs, running on park paths, things like that. So I asked Major Joe Sullivan to do kind of an overview for our officers and for you so that you could see what the ordinances allow the officers to do. And I just want to cover a few of those things quickly. First, whatever violation the officers see, they have to observe to be able to do any enforcement action. In other words, a neighbor can't get something on video, for example, and then bring it to us. And we're not allowed to do that by ordinance. It has to be observed by the police officer, which of course can be a challenge because when we try to stop these kids, they run. So, not always, but often they do. If you're over 17 years old, you can still get a ticket. If you're on a residential street and you go through a stop sign on an electric mini bike, you can still get a ticket if you're over that age. If you're under that age, which is most of the time, you can't get a ticket. And we also are not allowed to go to the parent or guardian and issue tickets to the parent or guardian in that scenario either. Some cities are allowing to do that. I think you might have seen the news. The city of St. Louis went to that for fireworks recently, where the parents are getting tickets for the actions of underage kids. We're not allowed to issue a parent a summons in any way, shape, or form off of something that their kid is doing. The only thing that the officers can do is take the bike for 5 days. So we can seize the bike for 5 days, hold it. I'm assuming that laws or our ordinances are written that way as some form of punishment to ground the bike for a while so the kid can't ride it. That's how it is. If you're over 17 and you get a ticket, it costs you $5 to $25. So there's really no bite to the bark here in terms of punishment, so to speak, even if you have an 18-year-old that's running through stop signs. That's the fine scope under our ordinances. There are some electric bike ordinance. If you read this document, you'll see they have to ride on the right side of the road. And there's some other things that they have to do if they're riding these bikes. But I think probably the most important piece of this is that our ordinances are clear that anything that goes to enforcement really doesn't apply to an electric vehicle, motorbike, mini bike. They're all considered bikes. So that's a challenge for us, and it's a challenge for our neighborhoods because of it. Really, these were written before electric bikes became popular. That's really what we're dealing with. So the ordinance needs to be updated. I talked to Bola about it, and Jim Hetledge is looking at this ordinance. We have asked him to, at the very least, make recommendations on improving the ordinance as it goes to electric bikes, and in particular the mini bikes. That's really the area that we're most concerned with. So Jim's reviewing other cities, and he's going to give us a recommendation on bringing that to you guys, to the elected officials, to adjust this ordinance process that would be more in line with 2025, where most of these are electric-powered vehicles.
So the three things that he'd be focusing on would be altering that definition to separate electric bikes out in some way.
Right.
And identify them. Secondly, would be to perhaps put more teeth, as you said a minute ago, under the fines that can be available, depending on the violation. And then third, I was gonna ask you, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what's your feeling about the officers having the ability to ticket parents for stuff like this? Is it a good tool? Is it not a good tool?
Policemen have discretion. You asking my personal opinion? If
I
it was
am.
my first time through with a kid, I would go take him home to mom and dad and say, this is what he was doing, and I would give him a warning. That's what I would do. Second time through, no more warnings. So, but I will tell you what we found is, as the officers are catching these kids and taking them home, the parents are, call it grounding the bike and the kid from it. Yeah. So there is some, we do have parents that are engaging with this process. Once they realize their kids are doing, hey, it is what it is. If we were 15 and had these, we'd probably be running around having fun too. So they're fun to ride. They're fast little bikes, but
think
so the
that's
parents are understanding it.
Does this include scooters? Because I was at a complete stop, thank goodness. And then this little electric scooter just went right in front of me. I mean, just by the grace of God, I had completely stopped.
Yes, it does. They're electric. Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
Yeah, please.
I think as they look into this, as you pointed out, these have sort of grown in the market, right? And there didn't used to be motorcycle style. They're electrified. They're bikes, but they're not. There's the electric bikes that look like normal bikes that have a bigger post that that help you
Helps you up a hill.
That's not a problem. It's these motors. So I think we need to figure out how to, whether it's
What the
a
definition?
maximum speed, like if the electric bike is able to go over a certain, 10 miles an hour, then there's a regulation for it. I think that's the bigger problems that we have, because I've seen kids on McKnight, and they pull right out and they zip down and they don't have helmets on. You got two kids on it and they're zipping along like it's their own playground. I've seen them cut across Litzinger here, and it's concerning, and I think it's, like you said, they're fun and they're good bikes, for a certain purpose, but they're being abused and not, with kids that have no training whatsoever. These bike safety of being able to, they're supposed to put hand signals up when they turn. None of these kids that are riding these have any clue what that means. So I think there needs to be education, and then we need to figure out how to separate the ordinances so that it sort of hones in on these motorcycle type. I wouldn't even call them bikes, they're motorcycles, just powered by electricity.
And there is some, in here, there is some conversation about the nature of the bike in terms of its operation, that when it comes to a stop, it disengages, and there's things like that where, it has to be fitted with this certain ability to idle, I guess. I don't know what the proper term would be, but it won't be, it's not engaged and in gear the whole time.
Right.
That's just another element of what we're talking about, I guess, in terms of
Yes.
definitional
There's
change.
also levels 1, 2, and 3 in terms of speed, but that's a manufacturer designation. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's things to chew on here in terms of recreating the ordinance so that it has specific intent to control. This is dangerous. It is what it is. You worry about these kids getting hurt, so.
Right.
Yeah, I'm receiving complaints from not only Ward 1 people who know me, but then also folks in Ward 2 and 3 that are seeing the increase of them and are, pretty concerned. So, especially as they come off of our trail system and cut right over into regular streets, and there's cars everywhere, especially by Mark Twain. We already know that Dorothy, nobody really stops at those stop signs. There's a ton of them, and they blow through them. If anybody comes off that path at the same time somebody's blowing through a stop sign, that's going to be a problem.
It's almost as if
they know not to go near Brentwood Boulevard and the major, but these other streets are kind of in play for them.
And I apologize for interrupting you again, but I didn't know if you had anything else you
No,
wanted.
I didn't have
add.
anything else
Okay.
to.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Well, so it's just that our city attorney is looking into it.
I'm going to send a rationale that I'm going to copy you guys in on to Jim, saying as a result of our conversation, we had these ideas.
I
So
recall.
do
I
what you
mean,
do.
Yeah, anecdotally, I mean, it was easy, I think, in the days of yore to distinguish between something that had a combustible engine
Yeah.
and not, because electric vehicles couldn't approach that horsepower, and now and now they can. So it's
The only blessing is
So
they're
now
not
those
loud
just
like the other ones were, though. They don't have that.
yeah, but
Yeah,
these kids aren't
that's true.
appreciating
Which is
the
also a
risk.
curse, because if you're driving and you can't hear them, that doesn't help you
Yeah.
any of your driving.
That's true too. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, I think that's everything under new business. We're on topic 9, which is citizen comments. This is our last opportunity during this meeting for anybody to be recognized to ask questions or to make comments with regard to any aspect of public safety in the city of Brentwood. Come up to the microphone here or raise your hand online and you'll be recognized for up to 3 minutes. Please identify yourself with your name and your address. Anybody online?
There's no one online with their hand raised.
Okay. Someday we're going to get somebody to be here online. Okay, and nobody in the audience here wishes to make any comments, so I'm going to declare citizen comments closed. And since there are no other items on the agenda, I declare